Welcome to this open classroom. We're the Media in Palestine classroom being hosted to you live from LAU campus. I'd like to thank Lean for running the camera and thank our guest, Laith Marouf, for joining us for this special edition of Media in Palestine's open classroom. We have had a number of open classrooms that have focused on research, but this is our chance to bring in a journalist and hear from them about reporting during this time of genocide, but also why we need to report on the liberation of Palestine from the ground in Lebanon. So many of our students have learned about the history of Lebanon before Lebanon was a country. When LAU was founded, what was the name of the country that LAU was at the time that LAU was founded? LAU was BUC in the past, but when it was founded, it was a school. And where was that school? In Syria, in Beirut, Syria, because Beirut used to be part of Syria, as was Palestine, as was Lebanon. And so it's very important when we think about the liberation of Palestine that we don't think of it as unique to Palestine and Palestinians. Liberation from Zionism and Western imperialism is liberation for Lebanon as well. And so it's important to hear about how journalists and media are organizing themselves with what mission for the liberation of Palestine. So I am very happy to bring Laith, who founded Free Palestine TV after Al-Aqsa flood, to talk with you about how the TV station came to be founded, but also more importantly, why. What is its contribution for the liberation of Palestine in reporting largely in English from Lebanon? And so I'll pass the microphone to Laith. We might be joined by a Palestinian journalist from Palestine as well. She has been invited, but you know the situation is very precarious for all journalists working in Palestine. And so if she's able to join us, I'll bring her in on the conversation. But in the meantime, I would invite Laith to tell you about what FPTV is and why FPTV is. And then we'll hear questions from the students in the audience, students who have been eager to interact with Palestinians, Palestinian journalists, and are very eager to have you here with them today, Laith. And they're going to be writing their questions. And Sarah is going to be documenting who asked questions for your participation points. And that includes you, Lynn, behind the camera. You have to ask a question as well. Okay, so I'll pass the microphone to Laith and welcome you to Media in Palestine.
Hi, everybody. Free Palestine TV, we started it in October 2023 because, number one, there was no content in English coming out from the ground here in Lebanon and in the West Bank in being produced by people that are indigenous to the region to speak to the rest of the world. That's number one. There's a lot of analysts, commentators, journalists that are in the West talking about us in English. And there is all these government, corporations, huge media conglomerates like Al Jazeera that are speaking on our behalf, but they are also not us, and they are representing a government's foreign policy. That's what Al Jazeera is to Qatar. So that was the initial idea, and we wanted to, at the same time, transfer skills, build personalities and careers for people from here and from Palestine that need a platform to get their voice out there. And the way that we are working is the funding is all from donors that go to our website. The viewers are the ones that fund us. We don't have any big donors or parties or governments behind us. It's the viewers actually donating once they see the content, and that's how we cover our costs. So we are viewer-driven, viewer-funded, and most of the work is really voluntary. We pay the workers but they're doing so much work in comparison to other outlets that you'd say almost that they are volunteering. So that's the gist of it. We have reporting from the ground in South Lebanon. We're doing, every couple of days, field reports of the throughout the war, the resistance, the attacks, and the right now the reconstruction that is happening. And we have interviews with personalities in a program called Wartime Cafe, where we bring the voices of people from here to the rest of the world, in-depth analysis and so on, but not the regular, recurring, repeating voices that we always hear. We're bringing the voices of the people here in the ground, on the ground.
So can you talk a little bit more about the difference that FPTV contributes in terms of reporting on Lebanon and Palestine? I think a lot of us have tuned into at sometimes an overwhelming amount of media content documenting genocide. So what makes the coverage at FPTV different than the coverage that's already out there, particularly in the English market and particularly for English content coming from this region? Because we know that there's a lot of content from this region in Arabic that is very pro-resistance and pro-Palestine. But what makes FPTV's content in English different than other reporting that's out there coming from the West on the question of Palestine and Lebanon, but also content in English coming from here about Palestine and Lebanon?
So there's multiple things that are different. One is the fact that we are unabashed, unashamed in support of resistance, armed resistance. And the name is very clear: Free Palestine TV. Free Palestine. It's not going to happen by begging for our freedom or that the West is going to give us our freedom. We're going to have to take it. The other thing that is different is obviously that we're actually on the ground, and we're not doing short format, tweets. There's a lot of people that are citizen journalists in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, that let's say an attack happens somewhere in the south, and they're near. They pull out their phone, they record those 30 seconds, and that's it, right? And then you have all the big media that is biased because of the government or the funders behind them that have an agenda that they're driving. What we're doing is that we're doing field reporting that is in depth. So it's not just tweets at 30-second things. It's actual mini documentaries where we not only talk about the momentary news item, but contextualize it in historical context and or speak to the locals and give it a wider envelope for this story. So it's not just, well, once again, Israel bombs Lebanon. So what? It happens every day. How are you going to affect the audience? And so adding historical context and giving motivational direction to the audience to take action, not only weep at our dead or the destruction, but think about how can they take action to change these things. And that wouldn't happen if you're not able to give historical context that diffuses any misconceptions there is, and showcases historical resistance over time, and people not giving up. That's one thing. The other thing is that the voices that they're hearing are the genuine voices of the people of our region. It's also not just, there's a lot of, let's say, Lebanese or Palestinian people that are in the West, but they're not living here. So there's also still a barrier about how authentic it is to what the people want on the ground. So hearing the voices of the people on the ground makes a huge difference to the viewer.
And so a lot of the content that you do provides that context, and I'll give a few examples in a second, but also aids the Western viewer or the viewer from here but based in the West with content that's translated into English. So for example, when you talk about context, one of the efforts made from Lebanon is to give context of Palestinian resistance or resistance against imperialism and colonialism from Lebanon. So you had a whole series that you did, or a long doc that you did, like you said, where you went out to the field and you covered the history and the rise of the SNP party, for example. FPTV also did a lot of work translating, live translation for speeches by different members of the resistance. So those resistance speeches get broadcast on Arabic television, but they're not broadcast in the West. And so by translating those resistance speeches into English, you're bridging that linguistic divide. So in some ways, translation is necessary for the field reports, going out into the field and trying to do these mini docs in all parts of Lebanon. Or, for example, with the Prisoners of War series that you started after Al-Aqsa fled from Palestine, where you're interviewing prisoners released from the jails, released from the Israeli jails. Those Palestinian farmer prisoners of war wanted to tell their story in Arabic. So rather than forcing a colonial language on them, you did translation of those interviews to be able to, one, provide them the ability to speak in the language that they chose, but also, two, to make that experience documented for audiences that either only speak English or are based in the West. So I think translation plays a big role in the work that FPTV does. And that's why it's so important for you to think about that in terms of your content going forward. One thing as well is when we see sometimes content that's trying to present a different perspective on Palestine, a lot of the Western content, as Leith said, might be this kind of like social media shorts or reels that are just a few minutes long. We're talking about the average report from FPTV being around 20 minutes. And like we said, when we studied about May Misri, does anybody remember May Misri? What film did she make that you had to watch a piece of? The Children of Shatila, exactly. Thank you, Lynn. That doesn't count for her participation points. You still have to ask a question, but good effort. So May Misri's Children of Shatila immersed you in the camp, because the camera was often placed at the level of the children. Even at sometimes she put it in the hands of the children, and they walked around with the camera. You were with May when she sat on the table with people making arts, with people sharing dinner. So you felt like you're sitting at that table with those people. That kind of immersive experience is what FPTV gives, but from the landscape of Lebanon, taking you out to villages that some of you may have never heard of. Laith's been to many of them.
So this is important
Yeah.
in terms of designing the content visually. Okay, so you can try to follow the traditional news format, but you're not we are not a production company that's huge, right? Producing, in the format of television news and or traditional documentary requires a lot of pre-production, writing the script, thinking about what you want to do, doing research of historical footage, all of that. And it requires a lot of post-production, meaning all the editing hours that are going to be put in. Because we are volunteers mainly, and let's say you are beginners, it is wrong to try to produce in that format, because you will not be able to, number one, look perfect like those people. It's gonna exhaust you financially, equipment that you need, the man hours. So the design of how FPTV content is, it's with this DJI Pocket, it gives a first person perspective for the viewers. It's almost like the tourism vlogs, right? It's shot in ways that on half of it is like allowing the viewer to feel that he's with you or she's with you, and the other is once they are, there any barriers they had are lifted because they feel comfortable watching a person that is on their level. Is now you put all the historical context and the political context to it. It becomes easier for the viewer to absorb, and the production cycle is very short. You're filming with this DJI. If there's another person, they can do that. If you have another one other camera, you're doing like inserts with it, well, while the DJI is walking with you. And so it's the end result is not intimidating to those who are producing it, and also it's not intimidating for the people that are watching it, and it also encourages people that are watching. They can say, wow, I can do that. So it's kind of almost like a community production values, of how we design the content, and that makes a huge difference in pulling in the audience that have no knowledge of the subject.
So I want to ask if there's questions in the room. Something that we haven't addressed is the platform experience of FPTV. It's not airing, they don't have a television station, right? So it's on the social media platform. So what that experience has been like. We haven't talked about their experience of reporting in the fields, good practices, bad practices. There's so many questions that are out there. I think this gives you a bit of a taste of what FPTV is and why we need something called a Free Palestine TV. But now is the chance for students in the class Media in Palestine to ask questions. Dana has her hand up, so we'll go to Dana first. Just say it loud for us. Maybe Dana, just because students in the class can't hear you either.
Oh, because of the generator.
Yeah, can you come sit over here beside Laith so you can address your question to them, and then they would have a better chance to hear you.
So I saw a reel about the Sabra and Shatila massacre from Free Palestine TV, where you were at the camp, I guess, and you filmed the camp. So how it's important to actually film the camp, because many of the people they do not go to the camp. They have like stereotypes, and this camp is dangerous. We shouldn't go to this area. Well, in fact, there's people there. So how it's important to shoot this thing.
Could you hear her question? No? Okay. I'm sorry, not everybody is like a communication major, right? We have some journalism majors here as well. But the question is about when FPTV did a commemorative video about 43 years since Sabra and Shatila massacre. Part of that footage of that documentary include filming the camp. And so she's asking, why is it necessary to film the camp, especially in a country like Lebanon, where maybe a majority of the population, or maybe more the media, make people feel the camps are not safe. Maybe they're dangerous places to go, or if you go there, you might be harassed. So why is it important to take the viewer of FPTV into the camp for something like a commemoration of Sabra and Shatila that was largely led by children, by the way? Yeah.
So it is very important to do the field work, not only in the camps, but even in the villages in South Lebanon and in Lebanon in general, okay? And because, look at this, here in Lebanon, there's very little people that go to the camps and have ever seen them in their life. There's also very little cross movement of peoples in Lebanon. So people that are Shia don't go to the Christian villages, and people who are Christian don't go to the Shia villages, and the Druze and so forth, right? And there's a few things that this is part of humanizing, right? And also part of creating a collective consciousness. Right? We're trying to show the audience, whether they're Westerners and or Arabs, Lebanese, Palestinians, their own lands and their own story and how natural it is, right? So going to the refugee camp of Shatila, we had two videos, one with this Greek activist she was visiting, and another with the whole commemoration event, and we went to the site where they have a marker for the massacre, and the comments were clear to us. A lot of people that were even Lebanese were commenting, "I've never been to. I live in Beirut. I've never been to. Now that I saw this, I want to go." Okay, but it's also very important to always coordinate these things, right? I wasn't gonna show up in Shatila with a camera and just walk around. I called the different Palestinian factions, and I got one of them to approve me and send somebody around so nobody feels that we are spies or something, right? Um, but this thing about visiting places and showing it to your audience, like there was another documentary that we did about the history of the Druze, okay, the unitary Muslims, okay, and it was in what is it called, the village,
I don't know, but it was somewhere in
um,
Shuf, no?
uh,
Ali?
I think not Ali, but anyways,
Near Ali. How about that?
point is, like, there was people that are Shia and Sunni Lebanese and Christians that have never been to the village, and they're like, "Whoa, there's these sites. Why haven't I?" Okay. Similarly, we went to, when we go to the south, and we're in a Shia village, and there's this Christian shrine, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know this," right? So you're creating a holistic uh, identity to your audience, and not if you don't visit the field, you will not be able to break those barriers and show that you can go. Even yesterday, I was in what is it called?
Jabal Sheikh.
You know, just south of in the foothills of Jabal al-Sheikh, and it's a lot of Christian and Druze villages. And before, some of the people that worked with me that are Shia, they were like, we shouldn't go there. They're gonna look at us as if we're suspicious. We may get beaten up or something like this. And I just showed up and I was talking to people, and people were actually very excited and happy that that I was in not Arsal. Is it? Yeah, Arsal. No. Yeah. No, sorry.
You're gonna look it up.
Yeah. No, I'm.
Okay, so I can see that Sabine wants to ask a question. Is that correct? Or Lean, you trying to hear? Lean, come on down. And who else wants to ask a question after Lean? So maybe we'll take 2 questions now and then let Laith answer both, okay? We'll let Rasha ask her question. You're gonna sit where Dana said. Be sure to project your question. And yes, there are cats on LAU campus, and we do have cats in the open
It was
classroom with
Rashaya.
us.
Rashaya and the other.
Rashaya is the
Yes.
name of the village that he was talking about. Yeah, come closer to us if you want to avoid the cats, okay? Yeah, just speak up for the class, but also to project here.
So, since the channel is translated into English, has it had any impact on the West?
So the question is about the translation into English, if there's any impact in the West.
Okay, so the content is mainly in English, and when we do interviews of people that don't speak English, we translate them. Okay, and the speeches of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah when he was alive and so on, those were obviously fully translated. The audience is 75% of the audience is in English countries: the US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and only around 5% are in Lebanon. So clearly, the content is reaching the primary target audience, which is the English-speaking countries.
And I would add that in terms of impact, one of the things you do whenever you're community media is you gauge your impact on your donor base. So because community media relies on donations from its listeners, as Laith described at the start with FPTV, then you can guess that usually your donor base represents at least 10% of your listener base. And because the subscriptions, whether it's monthly subscribers to FPTV or the monthly donations, generally has gone up and not necessarily down, or at least not down. But because of that upward increment of increase of donations, it shows that it has an impact and that people are willing to support and donate to keep this kind of media going. That in itself is of impact. So thank you for your question. We're going to turn to Carol. When you ask your question, can we go back to the "Hi, my name is Carol. I'm a communication student" stuff? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carol. I'm a creative communication student. And I wanted to ask you about censorship, and I know we haven't talked enough about this, and I wanted to ask about, since you are such a you do such raw reports from Palestine and Lebanon about the war, and you give such clear pictures of the suffering. I wanted to ask about how does and since you are since you report in English, that's a plus. I think does does censorship increase in reporting in English compared to Arabic?
Definitely, the censorship is much more if you're speaking in English, your content is produced in English. So if you notice, some of the media producers here in Lebanon that are producing in Arabic, um, Rula, what's her name? Uh, Rula Nasser, for instance, she does like five, maybe episodes a week at least, and she gets like 60,000 plus views on each of these videos on we will not get this viewership because there's a lot of throttling on our numbers, um, and of course you can say a lot more things that are could be considered controversial in English in Arabic, and the algorithm and or the monitoring is less, so you'll get away with it, but oh my god. But yeah, so definitely, in the beginning we had more censorship because the channel was weaker, and we got flagged a couple of times on YouTube. Two of our videos were removed, and then we were banned from posting for a month. That really harmed us. But there was a big campaign. Once our channel was deleted actually on YouTube. Okay, in January 2025. Yeah, now
I
it's
don't remember.
no. Yeah, point is that the channel was deleted completely, but there was a big campaign, a lot of media personalities, and a lot of activists, and
Including
YouTube.
support from SMEX here in
Yeah, and
Lebanon.
YouTube actually contacted me, a worker there, and apologized and gave us back our channel. Okay, so that shows you that actually the the numbers that we are seeing are a lie. It's not true. Like, let's say the video is receiving 5,000 views, it's most probably receiving 50,000
Yeah.
views, and they're just lying with the numbers there. And or the quality of the viewers are very important people, that when they contact YouTube about the ban, it has an effect. Since then, we haven't received any strikes or any content removed, and we got more kind of radical in what we are saying, but it's not affecting us. Yes. Instagram, we also got banned, and then they gave it back. Again, I don't know. We were lucky with this, but that shows you how the content is monitored. There's a lot of people pissed off, and there was another part of your question. You're asking.
About I
Censorship.
asked about
Yeah.
censorship and English, using English.
Yes, and I answered the English part
Yeah.
first. Okay.
And the censorship you answered.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Rasha, we're gonna come to you. I'm sorry that it's the same as Carol. We'll come up with a different question because you can't get your attendance based on that. Okay. So Batul, are you coming? We want to thank the president of PCC. Do you want to come say hi to the online audience? This is just sit with us for a second.
Hello.
This is Batul from PCC. And do you want to say what your major is?
I'm a major in communication.
Okay.
Thank you, Amjad, for this event, and hope everything will be fine. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Batul. It's very nice to have the president
you.
with us.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate you. And I hope everybody had kanafe today, right? They had kanafe. It was very good. Okay. PCC was doing activities earlier today. If you didn't get kanafe, too bad. And yes, it was Palestinian kanafe. So we're gonna ask another question, but you don't want to be on camera. If you don't have to be on camera, but it's effective. Yeah. Say your name and your
Hi,
major.
my name is Diana. I'm a communication student. So I wanted to ask, and since you were talking about the reporting in the south, I know if Free Palestine TV is like an official news in Lebanon, I know how it's like security wise, and because I know you have to take permission to go, and especially on the borders to report. So how is the process of it? And how is it?
Yes. So in Lebanon, the law says to get permits to go to, to produce officially content, you have to be a broadcasting television or radio. So in the beginning, the government was refusing to give us the permissions. Now, because I believe journalists have a duty, right, to report on the stories, I didn't give a damn if the Lebanese government gave me a permit or not. And for a year and a half, I was going to the front lines, crossing going around the checkpoints to get there and reporting, and didn't care. Uh, and in a couple of months ago, in June, somebody was really pissed off and decided to inform on us, and they set up a kamin, شو كمين بلا- an ambush in the middle of the night. We were going to Dir Siryan, Dir Mimas, sorry, and they had an ambush for us, and they, took me and arrested me and threw me in the jail for the mukhabarat al-jaysh for 3 days in what is it called? الثكنة اللي حد لا لا the jail for this the
Military
military intelligence
intelligence.
jail اللي هون بعبدا شو اسمه
Nobody's been there except you, so you should know the name of it.
whatever, I forgot. Alhamdulillah, there was no physical torture, there was no beatings or anything like this, and in the end they apologized and they released me and they gave me all the permits. Okay. So they just needed a pound of flesh to get those permits. There was a huge international campaign and pressure and so on to get me out, and which I got out. But that shows you how arbitrary it is, the issue of licenses, right? And we're not a broadcasting TV or radio station, but now I have all the licenses. So why didn't they give me the license 2 years ago, and just wouldn't have gotten through all of this ordeal? But remember, it's your duty as a journalist to report on how power is manifesting, right? So you go to a war zone, you don't ask for permission from those who are, and there similarly here, I was going to go to the south and cover the story of the people in the south, whether the government wants me to or not. It's not in their, it's my duty to do this work. Okay. Was part of your question another part, or no? That was it.
I think that was it. But do you need a notepad to write things down, or
No,
you're good?
no.
Okay. So, sure, go ahead. You want to give the mic? Okay, just sit there. They're gonna come up to you here anyway. I wanted to ask Salim or Giorgio if they have questions. Not now. Okay. In Russia, you're still good. Sabine, you're still good for now. So we have Lynn. You already came up, no? So sell your question to Giorgio for $5. Okay. Aya, you want to come down, and then Sarah will come to you. Are you okay, Aya? Or you don't want to come down? Oh, sorry. You do want to ask a question, yes? Okay.
Yes.
So we'll do Aya, then Sarah, then Batul. Is that okay? Okay. You're not disappointed, are you? You seem disappointed. Okay.
My name is Aya. I'm a communication student third year.
Oh, you're not going to hear her at all. So I'll repeat the question. Aya, communication
I'm
student,
a
project.
communication student third year, and we actually had an activity on campus a few weeks ago with Dr. Gretchen. We had to choose a topic, and we had booth of Palestine on campus. And my topic was about the olive trees in Palestine. So my question is, did you ever do any researches or did you post anything about this topic, olive trees, or is it only about how many people are dying, or more about the life of those people, the cultures?
Yeah, so there's no, we did a lot about land. There's actually two mini documentaries about agriculture, agricultural sovereignty and liberation. We also covered the stories of the olive trees that were uprooted and stolen in Kafarkila and other places, these ancient olive trees that the Zionists just stole in the middle of the ceasefire. And I was going down this week to record the olive picking for the frontline villages. They're getting attacked by the Zionists. So it's very important, when we were thinking about things that we were going to cover, not to always just put gloomy, death and suffering. We want to show resilience and resistance in all its forms, whether it's military, art, nature, agriculture. All of these are very important components of resistance. You can't just carry arms if you don't have your food to eat and your music and art to cleanse your soul. So there is also content that we produce that is about arts and events like that.
Thank you for your question, Aya, and for projecting. Appreciate you. Sarah and then Batul. And then I think we have Sabine, Giorgio, Salim, Lean, right? Lean, Russia. This section, this quiet section.
Hello, my name is Sarah Jabir, and I'm a third year communication student. So my question to you is, what was your most impactful story or news you covered, and how do you measure the success and the impact of your work?
So the question for Leon, who might not heard, or Giorgio, Salim, you maybe didn't hear, what was your most impactful piece, and then how do you measure the impact of your work?
I mean, there is a few pieces that are over 150,000 views on YouTube. One of them is during the war, just the week of the assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. We went down to the Dahiya, and we did a walkthrough with Professor Marandi from Iran, who's very famous on the English media scene. He was here, so I did a walkthrough in the Dahiya with him, and we went to the assassination site, and that got a huge amount of views. There was an episode of Wartime Cafe also with Marandi that same week, and it was about Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, and I think it's the only English interview about the assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, and from our milieu, from our people in the region, and it got I think around 70,000 views on it. But me and Marandi end up crying and so forth. So it was it's very emotional. It's very true, and I think it showed the rest of the world, anyone who doesn't understand the love people had for Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, what does it mean? And so here's two grown men with gray hair, beards, crying, whatever it is. But almost all the content is very, very impactful. I mean, we're getting people coming now. Now people are watching this content and they are flying into Lebanon and calling us and saying, "Hey, I'm here. How can I help?" Or, "I'm an organizer in this or that country. Can we do something together?" So that shows you that it is reaching the audience it should, and is having the impact it should. And if there's no lies in the algorithms and so on, the numbers would be much, much bigger.
Yeah, all that to summarize that you cannot trust the algorithms because honestly, those numbers are trade secrets. They don't tell you how they got them, and they won't show you how they got to them because it's algorithmic secrecy, the algorithmic black box. The other thing that's a measure of success, aside from people arriving and calling and saying, hey, we're here, is FPTV being invited to more and more talks, being invited to give lectures, being invited to do interviews, being invited to tour places. And so that is also a measure of success. Thank you, Sarah. Batul. And by the way, we have Feiruz online from Palestine. So I'm going to ask Laith, did you bring the speaker? The blue speaker?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have it? So after we get done with the last round of student questions, then we'll turn to Palestine and hear from Feiruz about prisoners of war. Go ahead.
Hello, how are you? My name is Batul. I'm a communication student. And my question is like two, but they're interconnected. Okay, so we learned in one of the classes about parachute foreign journalists. And I was just wondering what you and FPTV think about them and how you fought against this fast-paced periodic reporting of news to attract audiences rather than give them actual quality.
Yeah. So I'll just repeat Batul's question for Salim is what's your take on parachute journalists? So foreign journalists who drop into Lebanon, report, and then leave. So that's the idea of parachute in, and then they leave. And then also, what's your take on, what was the other part? Oh, about fast-paced delivering news versus the kind of in-depth reporting that FPTV offers. So not headlines, but stories.
And how can we fight it as well?
And how can we resist? Great question.
Yeah, look, parachute journalism is very harmful to any people that these journalists arrive in because it's partially extractive, industry, right? So they're coming in, they're extracting your story, your emotion, okay, and your the subject is giving everything in their heart, in their story to this person, then that person just leaves and also makes money out of them, right? So it's extractive on many levels, extracting emotions, stories, history, and finances from the people. While if it's a local journalist, at least the extraction is mutual, right? There's the local journalist is also living the same thing that the subject is living, right? So not maybe they're going to ask about the emotion or what's happening to the subject, but then they're going to talk to each other after about like we go and with me is Hadi filming and they're like, oh, where are you from? And he's like, oh, I'm from Duer. Oh, I know this person from Duer. This happened to them. You see, so there is a more exchange. There's an exchange instead of an extraction. And if there is money to be made, in the end, the money is going to stay in the economy in Lebanon and it's going to uplift a family, a Lebanese family of that Lebanese worker. So it's very harmful. And one last thing I would say about parachute journalism is that most of these journalists have zero knowledge of the history, long-term and even sometimes short-term, of our region, our peoples, and so on. So even if they end up producing content that is pro us, it's very superficial, right? You scratch a little bit and they can't answer the historical context. They can't answer about what's the solutions. They can't answer, you see, so it's very superficial content. And sometimes, because they don't have this historical understanding, they may do things that are harmful, say things that are harmful, right? Okay, I don't know. Somebody's like, why don't Palestinians just do like Gandhi? Okay. in India, and you're like, do you know that they've tried this 100 times since 19, you know, 20 something, you know, so it's harmful because of that. And the other part of the question was about
Headlines versus stories,
Headline
and how do we
versus
resist
stories.
the drive for headlines or breaking news versus actual stories?
look. There is it's you may get a lot of clicks if you produce that quick pace stuff, right? But after a while, uh, it doesn't have a permanent effect on the audience because again it's very superficial. Okay, an explosion happened, Israel bombed this tractor, Israel killed this youth on his bike, Israel destroyed this place. Then what? Okay. The idea is that you're trying to build knowledge in your audience. Okay, so maybe the first time the person comes to your channel and you have a more in-depth documentary that's 20, 30, 40 minutes. Okay, uh, they'll learn one thing. After 6 months of watching this content, now they have a very solid base of knowledge about the history, culture, geography of the location of Lebanon, that they are more capable to take action on it and or to teach others. Okay, and so and if somebody comes to our channel, the content is timeless because it's not just a momentary event, because it has historical context, cultural context, art context, and somebody can go back and watch the things that we produced a year and a half ago and still get something from it that is not just about the news item that we built the documentary around.
And that does happen. Like you'll see comments sometimes on the YouTube channel, like, "Oh, I'm new to this channel and now I've watched 5 episodes and I feel like everything's an education." And so that shows that the audience, because the content is not breaking news and just snippets of headlines, because it's in depth, because it's stories, people can go and watch in whatever order the archive. They don't have to start from video 1 and catch up to they can go through and watch just the land-based coverage about the trees and so on. Rasha, did you want to present your question now?
Thank you. And if also it's translated not only to English, to European.
Yeah. So
there is right now.
Sorry, I just want to repeat Rasha's question for the audience. The first one was about what content is attractive to the West. The other is about the languages you're translating to. Is it English only?
The titles.
Oh, sorry. What titles are attractive?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people that do clickbait subjects.
Titles, you mean? Yeah.
Okay. And what's her name?
Rola Nasser.
Rola Nasser is one of those people. That puts 3-4 buzz things to get somebody to click. I hate that. I personally cannot stand that, and because why try to deceive the audience, to try to give them good information? You deceive them with a title, and then you're hoping that the good information that you have in your video is gonna balance that. So it's, for me, I feel it's the titles take me a lot of time. If I was doing the clickbait, I probably can produce titles faster. Sometimes it takes a couple of hours to just come up with a title that relates to what's in the video, that is not clickbait. So you'll not find clickbait titles for us.
For example, for people that are brainwashed and want different narratives, how can we attract them to see the truth?
Yeah, I mean, look, the titles are not boring that we're creating. That's for sure. I'm not going to create boring titles, but they're not going to be clickbait. The visual that we are doing is unique. Okay, and even the actual videos, when you're watching them, there's nobody anywhere on this planet whether it's about Palestine, Lebanon, or not, about any other subject, that is producing the content, the videos, the way we are producing them. So there is already like a uniqueness to it, that anyone that watches it for one time says, I'm going to come back because there's nobody else doing this and there's nobody producing it in this certain way, right? So it's very attractive visually, the content. The thumbnail is very attractive visually. The title is nice, but not clickbait. So the audience feels respected. See? It's very easy for me to do Zoom shows like everybody else is doing.
I thought maybe you can use a small story from European case study and then try to compare to our
Yes, I mean we're bringing a lot of foreign visitors. We're touring them with us in the ground, and we're connecting in those. You'll see that, for instance, that Greek activist that we took to Shatila. She talks about Greece and it's their history of resistance.
When Richard Medhurst was here, he had just been in Ireland. So a lot of the interview was comparing the struggle in Palestine and Lebanon to the Irish struggle against British imperialism and colonialism. So it's really through the guests that you're able to build those connections, especially if the guest is coming from the West.
And there was something else. Oh, translation. Okay, so right now there is this auto translation option on YouTube that it does dubbing and subtitling, and it's translating everything into 20 somewhat languages. I don't have the capability to check if they're correct or not, the dubbing and translations, but most of the time it's fine. People that are watching it in French or Spanish are saying they're good enough for them.
I'm gonna ask. Oh, you want to ask a question? Okay, so we'll take one last question from Sabine, and I'm gonna tell Farouz, who's online, Farouz, that will be coming to you after this question. Go ahead, Sabine. Do you want to get on the camera or no? Okay, so I'll repeat for the listening audience. Go ahead.
So you mentioned that you covered the funeral of Sayyid Hassan and it got so much reach. So because Lebanon is unfortunately very politically divided, have you had anyone from the inside trying to jeopardize your work or attacking you, or because every channel has political cover or backing, and since it's alternative media, we don't have that. Have you experienced this?
Yeah, so the question is about any kind of backlash from within Lebanon towards Laith because of political divisions or divisions within the media scene. We don't really have alternative media like this. So has FPTV faced any backlash or come under any attack?
I mean, obviously, whoever set up that ambush for us in the middle of the road, in the middle of the night, was not happy about whatever we're producing. I know how much money they spent to bribe the people, but I didn't pursue it because I was told not to pursue it, to find out exactly who the person is, because if they were willing to spend this much money, if the heat gets close to them, maybe they'll spend more money to do something worse. Okay, and and obviously whatever they were trying to do didn't work out for them. Okay, so I know that there's a lot of political actors that don't like what we're doing, including the Israelis, including probably the American embassy, including others, and local political actors. Look, being a journalist, you're a truth teller, and if you're, actually telling truth, there's a big risk. And prophets get killed, and you make a choice. Do you feel that your life is more important than, let's say, the life of Jesus, who died because he was telling truth, and he walked to his death knowing that death is coming, right? Because he's telling truth. So I don't think my life is more important than the life of Jesus, and therefore I have to have the same conviction. I will say the truth no matter what the consequence is. And of course, we saw the consequence for journalists here in Lebanon that were killed by Israeli attacks and or injured permanently with disabilities. I think it's what 12.
12 killed and dozens more injured.
Yes, and in Palestine, the hundreds that were killed and injured, and so when you want to be a journalist that is covering news of war, and you have to make those choices consciously. It's not a game. It is very satisfying for me to feel that I'm doing this work, but I don't take it as a game, right? I know that the Israelis fired 2 missiles on us, me and Hadi. Okay, during the war, they fired one white phosphorus missile, just a few meters away from us, and we were lucky that the wind blew the other way, pushed, and then once they realized the phosphorus is not, they fired a fragmenting missile, and we were lucky again. There was a cement wall like this long, and it took the sharpnel, right? They fired, they followed us with drones so many times. Okay, so I know that there's a possibility that Gretchen and our kids may not have a father, but I wouldn't feel myself or worth calling myself a journalist if I'm not down in the field with the people reporting their stories. Okay.
Giorgio, question? Yalla. You want to ask it from there? Of course you can. Just project like a great communication student that you are, senior
My question
communication.
is, how can Palestinians who have endured decades of Israeli occupation and violence effectively make their voices heard and share their narratives without facing censorship, or being labeled negatively in Western discourse?
So the question is about Palestinians who are already oppressed within Palestine, but also perhaps also within Lebanon. How can Palestinians have a voice and do the work that is needed without being silenced?
So obviously, there's Palestinians have given so much, and clearly Palestinians people are willing to give everything they cherish to achieve their liberation. Uh, Palestinians are and Lebanese people are brilliant storytellers. Uh, you know, so many poets, so many writers. Were good communicators, and because we have all this history as people from this region of all these prophets and all these wise people and all this resistance to colonialism and occupation all the way back from the Roman and Greek time till now, I don't. I think the Palestinian and Lebanese people and their culture is healthy enough to continue resisting at all these odds. Okay, and just looking at how in just these 2 years in the war in Gaza, there's more journalists killed in Gaza than all the wars since World War One till now combined, all the other wars combined, and that they are still coming out and filming the Palestinians and reporting. That shows you how much conviction they have, and this is the same is true here. It's and you should be proud of it. Okay, like there's uh, so I don't think the Palestinian people will ever stop telling their story. Now we look at what has happened since October 7th, since the Al-Aqsa flood started. And we can actually say that our peoples in this region have achieved the biggest victory in any propaganda war in history. a besieged people in Gaza in an extermination camp, and people in the south of Lebanon, isolated from the rest of humanity, were able to defeat the combined propaganda machine of the whole West and their local, collaborators. And not only that, they defeated, accumulated 80 years of propaganda about Jewish supremacy, about democracy and the West, and human rights and international law and so forth. All of that was destroyed because of our steadfastness of our people and the ability of our people to tell our story under, the citizen journalist in Gaza, other than the actual real journalist in Lebanon and Palestine, but the citizen journalist that was videoing their own suffering and resistance defeated propaganda empires. There's the Soviet Union couldn't defeat the U.S. Communism versus capitalism propaganda war, right? And the children of Gaza defeated the biggest propaganda machine humanity has ever known. Okay, at zero cost. And the Zionists are spending billions of dollars, and I meant like financially, right? Like just doing social media posts. And the Zionists are spending billions, if not trillions of dollars to try to fight us and our storytelling. So we have won the propaganda war. The vast majority of people in the planet, including in the West, are now anti-Zionist. They're pro-Palestinian liberation. And that is the most brilliant achievement in any propaganda war that you can ever study.
So I'm going to actually ask Fayrouz if she can join us on the stage now. And I'm going to turn on the speaker. Okay, we're just going to make a small connection. And I'm going to see, yeah, I hear you there. So let me, and Fayrouz, I'm going to put you on the stage and we're going to just first test your microphone to make sure that we can hear you okay.
Hi everybody.
Yeah.
So the sound is good.
And let me just try something. I need to change a setting here in the StreamYard, just a second. Audio, speaker. That was me testing. What am I doing now? I think I'm still testing. Hold on a second. What is happening here? Oh,
something.
Lord. Okay, something was playing in the background. Okay, random. Okay. Fayrouz, test your voice for me.
Hi everyone.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this microphone or speaker to come here. Whoa. It's not a disco show, so. So Fayrouz, I'm gonna put you in the direction of the listening audience, and I'm gonna ask the camera person to put the camera on the students, and we're gonna hear from. She's a journalist from FPTV. No, she's from FPTV. Yeah, Carol thought I was sharing the classroom with some random person on the internet. No, this is Fayrouz. She's gonna introduce herself, and she's gonna tell you about the program she produced for FPTV and why she produced it. And Fayrouz, just so you know, we have about 5 minutes left in class. So she's going to introduce herself and you're going to see her, okay? So Fayrouz, I'm going to mute my microphone and add you to the class, okay? So go ahead and talk for us.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm very happy to see you all today, Gretchen, Laith, and hope you are, everyone is good. My name is Fayrouz Salama and I'm from Palestine. I work in FPTV and we are doing with Laith the Prisoner of War show. I was released from the Israeli prison in the 1st of genocide war after the first exchange deal. It's happening by the Palestinian resistance, thank God. So after I was released, I was thinking about what we can do to the Palestinian male and female prisoner inside the prison, the Zionist prison. So I start talking with Gretchen and share my idea for her. So then we decide to do something with Free Palestine TV. So I connect with Laith and start creating this show. I don't know if you see any of the episode we share it on the website of FPTV. But I really encourage you to see the episode because it was in two language, Arabic, and translate with subtitle to English, to who's maybe be comfortable to watch the episode in English, not in Arabic. The idea about the prisoner of war, it's come from the reality that we have a situation inside the Israeli/Zionist prison, and we need to talk about it because what is happening after the war start, it's really very, very hard and different in the context and how the occupation soldier acting with the Palestinian inside the prison. And we have a lot and many of case. It's being necessary to share it to the public and not just inside Palestine. The main idea of prisoner of war, it's not for the local community inside Palestine. So it's to the outside community to talk about the Palestinian prisoner and to talk about what's happening with them and their life after the prison. Because the life after prison, it's more hard in the daily life in West Bank or any place in Palestine, like what's happening inside. We think if we are released from the small prison, it's we will take our freedom and being released. But to be honest, it's not. It's not. When we released from small prison, they take us and put us in the big prison, as Walid Daqqa, the martyr and the prison says when he writes his book. So inside Palestine, we live in a big prison and small prison. The small prison, which we face every torturing from the soldier every day, every minute inside. So even if we are being in the prison inside with the other girls, or if we are in the investigation with the intelligence soldier. So when we do the prisoner of war, we talk the story of the life of those Palestinian, male and female. And we see their life. They are not a number. As a Palestinian, they are not a number. Not just a person who was arrested then released. No, it's not just a simple case. They are a people, have a story life, have a daily life, even if they are in student education, have a family, journalist, or doing or research or any jobs they are doing. So we are focusing in prisoner of war in the story of those people, and tell us about their life before they arrest and during their trip inside the prison and what they face. Then after, what happening with them later when they released from the prison. And if you are interested in student movement inside Palestine and the activating of the student and how they are targeted by the Israeli soldier, I really encourage you to go to the website and see some of the prisoner of war show, because I do some of episode with the previous student who was active in the student movement, and they was arrested, and they are explain the historical of the student movement inside Palestine, especially Birzeit University, and how the Israeli soldier targeted them, and what happening after they target them, they arrest them, and how they try to destroy their life. So I don't think I have a lot of time, so I will stop here. And if anybody have any question, I will be very glad to answer it. But I don't want to.
Fayrouz, I just wanted to thank you for your comment and for bringing up the students as well. Um, there were a number of students who were prisoners that she interviewed after they came out of the prison. And something that I've heard about, that many of the conditions of these students is that when they come back to campus, they're not even recognized by their fellow students because of the conditions inside the prison being so terrible, that the students have aged or they've lost so much weight that they're no longer recognizable to students that they were best friends with on campus. So I hope that in future sessions of this class, we can actually do a joint seminar with Berzeit University in Palestine with the Right to Education campaign that Fayrouz is part of, on scholasticide. And Fayrouz, I will be inviting Palestinian organizations from Lebanon to join that seminar because scholasticide is affecting Palestinians in Lebanon. There's been a drastic decrease in the number of Palestinians that can access higher education in Lebanon, in part because of the war. So we're going to talk about that, and I look forward to talking about that further. And Fayrouz, as she said, all of the episodes of Prisoners of War are archived on FPTV. It's a very important project because, in part, Al-Aqsa Flood was started because of the prisoners. And as you know, there's still over 10,000 Palestinians in prison, men, women, and children to this day. And so until they are released, until Palestine is liberated, we continue to need something like an FPTV. So I want to thank you all for joining this open classroom. I want to thank everyone for being patient with our very noisy LEU campus. Remember, we have generators because the power plants were bombed by Israel. So the sonic environment that you are in is as a result of colonialism and imperialism. But I want to thank you for your patience and being outside with us. I know sometimes you feel safer in the journalism lab, but it's nice to take you out to your campus where you can be threatened by cats or comforted by cats, depending on your reaction to cats. So Fayrouz, again, thank you so much. And I'll give you the chance just to say goodbye to the students, okay?
Goodbye, everyone, and nice to meet you, and hope we are meeting in the future.